everyone. Today we got to play Tiny Epic Quest. So this is obviously questing adventure. And it's through the Tiny Epic series. So if you would like to see more content about different games, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.
She's going to say it right someday.
One of these, we're having to have like a confetti shooter that goes off one time when she says it.
I don't know why I can't get it out.
Yay!
So hit the subscription. Don't forget about the bell. All that jazz.
All that good stuff.
We would love to have you at our table. So, moving on. Who made the game? What's going on?
So, Tiny Epic Quest, released in 2017. Designer Scott Alms. Art was by Miguel Coimbra and Adam McKiver. MSRP, again, just like all the other Tiny Epic games, big bang for about $35. The mat is $30.
Okay, not too shabby. All right, so let's dig into quality of pieces. So you have plastic meeples that you get to add weapons to. I thought that was so cool, guys.
Item meeples. They're called item meeples.
Well, I like it. I think it's super fun.
And you have a rock wall of weapons that you can put your pieces in and pull out. Now, I thought that was neat. I really wanted my meeple to climb the wall, but Robert didn't want to let me do that.
Yeah. I think the dice are pretty cool. They're different symbols, so they're custom to this game. You had a few cardboard chits in the games and the cards. I think the biggest complaint I have for quality of pieces is that in the game, you have a max health and a max power. Those aren't indented anywhere, so they kept sliding everywhere. And
well, they're off your board, so your board is
Yes.
touching them, and then if you move your board at all, it's going to cause those to be screwed up.
Well,
or if you
even
move the
these,
pieces.
it's
And then you've
so
got
bad.
the markers for your health and your energy that go up and down that you're easily to bump to.
Those weren't as bad of an issue, but it still bugged the crap out of me. I think that's the only quality issue that I experienced that really affected gameplay. Other than that, I actually like the quality of pieces. I thought there was a lot of cool things that I haven't seen in other games, like equipping the meeples, that I actually appreciated. What would you guys give it as a score?
Well, the card's quality is really good. It's got the texture. I really like it. Even the player boards are a good quality card. It's just they should have used a cardboard with the indentions, like most games are nowadays anyway. But
They were back in 2017.
Oh, that's not that far back.
No, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, it wasn't as prevalent back. Yeah, it wasn't as prevalent a few years back. I mean, the meeples are amazing with the little weapons that get to put into them. That's really cool. That was the best part of the game, actually. And the map's pretty good too. Obviously, I would not play this again without the play map.
Give it a score.
I'm going to go ahead and give this one, I think, based on everything but that, an 8. I think this pulls it down. So it probably would have been like an 8.5 to a 9 if I hadn't had this problem with the card.
What's your thoughts?
I think an 8 is a good score just because having fat fingers, it is kind of hard sometimes to handle the smaller pieces. And I just thought that, unlike maybe some of the other Tiny Epic games, it was just harder to manage on this card. It seemed like, Tiny Epic Galaxies was the same size, but I didn't have as hard a time managing those components as I did with this one.
Yeah, and I think it might have been because the ones on the card, due to the texture, they didn't shift as much, but the ones on top were horrible for me.
Yeah.
So I feel like that maybe was part of the issue is that they planned for some of it not to be on the card.
Even the legendary items, they're bigger than your other items that you get through questing, and so they didn't fit on the card real well either. And so it was a little bit harder to manage those. And it's just, I love it as far as component quality, but I'd give it an 8.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. An 8 if it wasn't for the player board. The player board really did affect, because there was twice that I guess I was on the wrong number. I at least twice. And so that really kind of messed that up. And I'm, really sad because I thought I was done and then I wasn't done. And so that was kind of frustrating. So moving on to theme, I mean, this is a quest. It's an epic quest. You're going to do things. You are learning spells. You are going up temples to gather treasure, and not only that, you're fighting goblins. So there's a lot of stuff going on there that really encompass that questing.
Pretty traditional fantasy theme, but it's pretty well laid on there. It's not just laid on like some other thematic games.
Yeah. My one complaint on the theme is there wasn't enough fighting. It was goblins. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's like here you're gathering swords, you're gathering spells, and it's like you don't do anything with them. You just have them.
It's just scoring mechanisms. It would be kind of cool if you did something with the spells that you.
I mean, there should have been something to do with it. I mean, it was just okay, and the spells are just completely layered. I mean, there's no.
It's just strictly scoring.
You don't even know what spell it is. It's just I got the spider spell, whatever that is supposed to do, and. It was kind of disappointing on what.
I agree with that. I do think that there wasn't enough adventure. I mean, you're going up the temple track and basically trying to gain a resource to go up the temple track, but like, you just moved up your thing. I don't know. I get to see where you're coming from. Is that it wasn't truly storytelling,
right?
Versus is the theme there as far
the mechanics lend to the theme of the game, but there's no story to back up
exactly. And when you think about epic quests, there's a little bit of more story or a little bit more fighting involved, I feel like. So I totally understand what you're saying.
Well, maybe that's why they made it tiny so that it would fit in the box. They took out all the interesting part of the quest.
No. All right, give it a score.
Because I think that affects the feel of the game a lot. I'm going to go ahead and give this one, I think, a 7.5. I think that's where I'm at on theme on this.
Okay.
I actually was thinking about 7.5 too. If there was just some story to it, it would have probably
or just some additional monsters. I mean, it'd be nice if there was like a dragon you had to slay or something. But just having goblin tokens, it didn't give you that feel.
But I agree. I think that if there was some story, but then if there was something with the spells, other than just a straight up scoring mechanism, so that would have been cool.
Yeah, or if it would have changed it up from goblins to like added not just goblins, right? And that way it mattered which attack space you went to because you'd be facing different level creatures.
Like maybe if you defeated so many goblins, then it would upgrade to not necessarily a dragon, but something different. Right,
but then you would have to have like a character increase, but your character never really changes. The health does.
The items in your power does, and your items can really affect how well you do.
Yeah,
as far as combat, you just didn't get those items.
I guess not. So a little bit different. So moving on,
7.5.
I'm right there, 7.5. So moving on to rules. Robert, you wrote the rules this go around.
I'm very much on the fence about the rules because parts of it was really well laid out. They did really good pictures. They did some examples that really helped with learning it, but there is several parts that are very vague on what the things that specifically the magic. We had a very hard time with the magic, and we had to read through it, and finally it clicked for Randy, and when Randy understood it, he restated it,
because we knew something
for the rest of us.
Then we knew something was wrong. We just couldn't figure out what until Randy figured it out. So and
we didn't get that from the rulebook. I said it several times.
Well, we didn't get it from the errata either, and that was the other thing. Is that there's a ton of errata for this. I mean, there was a whole FAQ section on Board Game Geek, and that's where it tipped me off. But it even wasn't specified there. It was just an answer from someone that triggered me to go and figure it out.
And if you have that much errata for a game, that clearly means that they need some work on the rule book.
Yeah.
So because of that, I don't think I can give it higher than a 6.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. We did have a lot of issues.
I mean, I didn't get a chance to look at it, but I was actually thinking lower than a 6. I mean, I don't think I can go higher than a 5. I mean, if I get Catan out, I can understand how to play the game. I think this one is probably maybe a 4. Is my impression.
Yeah, it was missing the spells, with the spells being such a big part of the game and not being able to explain that correctly in the rules.
I mean, the examples in the book did help to clarify.
Now, I will say though, there is no cheat sheet. The other tiny epic games we had the cheat sheet for you to play with. And that not being there kind of made me grumpy. I'm not going to lie. Y'all were reading the rules. I'm like, I'm not going to listen. Where's the cheat sheet? Wait, what? We don't have one?
Wait, you didn't listen to rules?
Oh, come on. Really?
It's not surprising.
We all know that does not happen.
Listen.
Listen. I listened to enough rules.
This
at work.
game
I don't
has
need no
rules?
more. Anyway, moving on. So let's move on to gameplay. So there is a lot of gameplay. So I think let's start at the beginning. So the players.
Before we get into that, the type of game it is really a pressure luck game when it comes
really
down
is.
to it. There's scoring tracks, but what it comes down to as far as scoring, it's all about how long you're willing to risk yourself before you bow out.
Which is what adventuring is.
Yeah, and I actually enjoyed that aspect of it. I actually did not mind that, other than I felt like you should be able to bow out on other people's rolls. But I didn't mind it once we started doing it. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And I thought it was pretty enjoyable.
Yeah.
Back at you.
Okay. So the starting player picks out the movement that they decide that they want to move. So you have 5 different options of the different movements that you can make. And then that person takes that movement action, and then everyone else follows that movement action. And when you land on the building, if there is an action to take, you take it. If not, then you set yourself up for actions at the night phase. So some of those actions include learning a spell, traveling the temple track, combating goblins, and then the special abilities. Those are the ones that get acted right away versus at the night phase. And some of that included gaining more power, gaining magic, gaining combat ability, moving up on the temple track for free. So there were a lot of different abilities that were placed on the board. And then it goes to the next player. The next player chooses a thing, and then that continues until all the players got to choose a movement action, and then you proceed into the night phase, that's where you press your luck and you roll your dice. So the first player takes the die. They roll the die depending on what they roll.
Dice. They roll 5.
They roll 5 dice. And when they do that, then it determines what you guys can do. There is damage done by the goblins. There's attacking of the goblins. There are torches that allow you to go up temples. And then there are scrolls that let you go obelisks and temples, one or the other. And then last but not least is the mushrooms, which
there's also energy you left out.
Oh, power, yes.
Right.
You get free power when you do it, unless you are too far up on the mushroom track. The mushrooms allow you to learn greater spells, but at the same time, it also gives you negative things.
If you get up too high, then your damage gets increased.
Right.
Yeah.
And I focused all my energy during the game on the magic track, and that's why it was so frustrating that we didn't quite have it right. And the movement up the track was that's where you have a second level of pressure luck in the game. There's the first of the whole die rolling, but for the spells, if you don't get the mushrooms to go up the track, you may not even be able to get your spell. Right. But if you go too far up, then you start suffering severe penalties if you roll like the goblin heads, the red.
So what's unique about the dice rolling is that the dice are shared. So you roll it, and then there's the 3 main dice with damage, straight damage. Then you got gain power, and then you got the mushrooms or the shrooms. So if you roll multiple of the get damage, you take the first one. You can negate it by spending power. And then any others goes to the next person. And if there's a third one, it goes to the third player. Mm-hmm. Same thing for power. You gain 1 power, then the second dice will go to the next person. And then the shrooms just increase the magic track.
Yeah.
But then the torches and the scrolls, like Miranda said, helps you go up the temple tracks. That's shared by everybody, as well as hitting goblins. So if the hitting goblin, everybody that's on a goblin space can hit the goblin for 1.
Yeah. There are a lot of unique things happening. I actually liked it for an adventure game. Mm-hmm. It's one of the better pressure luck games because I typically don't like pressure luck because I'm not a risk taker. So this one was actually an interesting way to do that. So,
and it's for me personally, it's definitely higher up the Tiny Epic games than I definitely like it better in Pirates, and I liked it better than Tactics. So,
what'd you think?
Once we figured out the magic, I liked it a lot more. I was very frustrated during the game.
You could definitely tell
because I focused all of my energy on the magic track, right. And then especially when Robert was going to jump from 1 to 10 in 1 turn, that was really frustrating. It's like, okay, I stepped on my way all the way up, and then to have somebody jump from 1 to 10 didn't make any sense.
Well,
you can't. It doesn't make sense. You can't do that.
Well, I mean, I wasted a lot of actions because I took singles when I could have taken 2 and 3. So, playing it again, it would have ended up differently. Yeah. But, it was fun. Let's get a score, guys.
Overall, I think I had a good time with it. I think I would do a 7.5.
What do you think?
Again, this is a small box game, which already is going to cost it some for me. I think it's just below Pirates for me. I think I'll give this one. I don't know if I can give it a 7.25. Somewhere between 7 and 7.5. It's not. I don't want to give it a 7 because I think that's where most of the other ones were falling, if not lower. But I think it's somewhere right below Pirates, which I would think it was a 7.5 I gave it.
Yeah, I'm okay with a 7.25 too. It is better than the other ones, most of the ones that we played. But I will say, is this something that I'm going to go to? Probably not. I'm way more into the controlling. I want to build better than you, and then this is not one of those.
So
games.
you're into the controlling. Yeah, I wish you would have told me that before we got married.
You like it? Shut up. So I it isn't something
It's
that
the control part. You just told him to shut up.
If we can't figure out who's the dominant one in the relationship, it's already too late. All right, so. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We love having you. Please come back. We'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.